I love being outdoors. When both of our sons left home and went off to college and, went off for their lives, my husband and I were like, okay, now what are we going to do? When you're raising your kids and raising your family and you're doing all the little league and the school and working full time, I did not have a lot of opportunity to do things like that. There are so many different variables, which way the bird's going to go. What kind of bird is it? Is it going to come straight at you? Is the dog going to jump up? So every situation, it can be a little different. And you just kind of get used to those variables the more you do it.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of GDIY presented by Standing Stone Supply. I'm joined this week by Faith Nixon. Faith, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm living the dream as always. So you recently reached out to me on an email just kind of breaking down a recent trip that you took with your family. And through that email exchange, there's a couple things that we hopped on the phone call. It kind of intrigued me a little bit. I wanted to know more about it. And I thought it was worthy of an episode to kind of talk to you about your journey into the upland space. But before we kind of get into all that stuff, I want to hear a little bit of backstory, kind of introduce yourself, tell everybody where you're calling from and kind of your experience in the outdoor space.
Okay, so again, my name is Faith Nixon. I am from Abington, Virginia, which is Central Virginia. So I have been around hunting pretty much my whole life. My husband is an avid hunter. We have two sons, and we brought them up. Both of them hunted with my husband, their whole lives. I started shooting skeet about 10 years ago, off and on. So that was my first real experience for myself with shooting. And then about 2.5 years ago, we got a German short hair pointer. And so we, with the intent of bird hunting, I'd never done it before, but I was just so amazed at these dogs and just their natural ability to be able to do what they do. It was just so interesting to me, and I loved it. So my husband was kind enough to, let me tag along, and we, I think I told you the first time that we went, I didn't even carry a gun. I just wanted to kind of see, okay, what is all this about? How does it work? What happens? What's it like? Which I really enjoyed, and we did that. And Virginia does not have a great quail population, so we do a lot of our hunting on preserves. My husband will go wild quail hunting here locally a little bit, but there's just not a lot. So it was good for me to go on the preserve because it was controlled, and it was just a confined area. It was a good experience being a newbie.
Right.
And then I started carrying a gun. My husband bought me a shotgun for my birthday. Which is nice. It's a Beretta A400 that has like a kickoff system or something in it, so it doesn't kick a lot. So it's very comfortable for me to carry. It's very lightweight. I enjoy shooting it. So then, my oldest son has a wire-haired griffon. And so he was all about upland hunting as well. And he's done some of it throughout the years. He and my husband actually went to Pennsylvania grouse hunting with his first griffon. So when we got the German short hair, he was like, okay, when we going, when we're going to go out west and go quail hunting. So, we kind of talked about it off and on, and then I reached out and we talked to some people, and we made the decision to go for it. So we planned our trip and went out there. It was both of my sons and my husband and myself. and our 3 dogs. We now have 2 German short hairs, and then he has his wirehead griffin. So it was the 4 of us and our 3 dogs, and we headed out west, and it was an awesome experience.
Mm. And we're definitely gonna get into that trip more because that's honestly the trip and its results is what caused you to kind of reach out to me and make that contact. But
Yeah.
you went really fast forward through a lot of that stuff building up to that point. I want to backtrack a little bit, and you
Right.
said that you got into skeet shooting about 10 years ago. Up until then, you really didn't have any experience in hunting. Did you have any kind of desire, or was there a lack of
No.
opportunity? Kind of talk to me, what led you to the skeet shooting
You
aspect?
know, an activity to do with my family. When you're raising your kids and raising your family, and you're doing all the little league and the school and working full time, it just, I did not have a lot of opportunity to do some things like that. Um, so the kids were grown and they were into it. My husband was into it. We joined a local gun club that has great, skeet and trap and sporting clays and all of that. So we started taking advantage of that. And it was just an opportunity to do something with my husband and my kids. And so that's really why I got into it.
Mm. And sometimes that's all that it takes is just kind of dipping your toe into something, getting into it, and getting into that 10 years ago. And then you said that you recently, just a couple years ago, got the dog. There's a pretty good gap. So you clearly got into the skeet shooting and you were comfortable and enjoying that in of itself. You weren't really
Mhm.
looking to expand. What was it about the skeet shooting that you really appreciated that kept you into it for that long? And then kind of talk to me about when the seed about a bird dog and maybe taking that next step into hunting entered your brain and something that you might want to try.
Yeah, so the skeet shooting is just, I love being outdoors. When both of our sons left home and went off to college and, went off to for their lives, um, my husband and I were like, okay, now what are we gonna do? And so we started out, we got into fishing a lot. We did a whole lot of trout fishing, a lot of camping. I really enjoy the outdoors and pretty much anything and everything that has to do with the outdoors. The skeet shooting was just another opportunity to do something outdoors, and it was just a lot of fun. I enjoyed the challenge. I'm not good at it by any stretch of the imagination. My husband's laughing back in the
he's
background,
in
but
the he's in the background shaking his head, but hey, you don't have to be good as long as you're enjoying it
yeah.
and trying, right?
Well, exactly, and that's just it. I think so many people, if they aren't really good at something, then they don't really enjoy it. And for me, it's the challenge. It's trying to learn something new, just experience something new, and try to grow and improve at it. And it's the whole process. It's not, I don't have to be really good at it to enjoy it. And I'm gonna work hard to try to get better at it. It's the whole process, it's the journey.
Yes.
It's not just the destination for me.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I
so
can agree
yeah,
with that
so we
sentiment so much. You're speaking my language now. Is enjoying the process for what it is. You know, going into it, it's going to be challenging. You may not be the best at it, but as long as you kind of enjoy the process and the journey of trying to get better, then you can enjoy it. You know, we're not out there trying to win medals or anything, unless you're trialing, of course. You know, then
right.
then you're actually trying to win something.
Well,
But when it comes to
yeah.
skeet shooting and hunting and training dogs, it's just like enjoy the process for what it is, and whichever facet that appeals to you, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more. It's just yeah, so that's kind of what carried me through the whole skeet shooting thing. We would shoot with my sons, my daughter-in-law would shoot with us. It's just something that we enjoy doing together, as a couple, with my husband and I, as a family. Um, and talking about the dogs. So my husband okay, let me back up just a little bit. So both of my boys have had dogs, and some of them have stayed with us. Actually, my son, when he went to Germany, we kept his dogs for him while he was in Germany, for a year and a half or whatever. And we loved their dogs. And then my other son had labs, and he lived just right down the street from us. And so we would keep his labs for him. So we always had, even though they weren't our dogs, they were our son's dogs. They were a big part of our family and household. Well, then, the boys moved away, took their dogs with them. And so we kind of bounced around the idea, hey, maybe we want to get a dog. And we kind of talked about it for a long time. And then some friends of ours, a local breeder, Southern Shorthairs, had a litter of German Shorthairs. And so we went and looked at them, and just, of course, it's hard to not love a puppy.
Yeah, right.
And they're adult. I know, it's just, I'm such a sucker. And their adult dogs were just so well behaved, and just, I really loved their adult dogs. So we decided to make the leap and got our first German Shorthair, and she's 2.5. She'll be a little over 2.5. She'll be 3 in February. And we love her to death. She's crazy. Anybody that knows a German Shorthair, boy, they have got some energy, and they are a handful, but she's a sweet dog. And we have really enjoyed, taking her hunting and just having her as a family pet. So then my husband decides he wants to get another German Shorthair. So this year we got a male, and from the same breeder. And it's so interesting because they're so different. He's just kind of, not that he's not high energy, he's absolutely high energy, but just not quite as intense as she is. She can be a little hard-headed sometimes, but yeah, so yeah. So we love the dogs, and we love taking them hunting and watching them do their thing. And it was really fun this year. So with Bob, our male, we took him to a preserve and had some birds laid out for him. And he had never been on a bird before, right? So we were like, okay, we don't know what he's gonna do. Let's just see what he does. So the first bird, he knew it was there, and he ran up on it, and the bird blew up and flew away. And he was just like, what was that? And it was like a light switch. I mean, you hear people say that, and it really is like that, because then we did another bird, and he went right on point. And then we flushed the bird and shot it, and he went and got it and brought it straight back, like he had been doing it, for years. It was just so really cool to be there and experience that with him, and just see that. I mean, it was just amazing.
Just ingrained in his genetics, pretty much. It's never,
yeah.
It never ceases to amaze myself, and especially people kind of brand new into it, is just how instinctual so much of this stuff is, and how
it's so true.
Yeah,
so true.
it's like how little we have to do as handlers to bring some of this stuff out into young dogs. It just goes to show, if you have quality genetics, that instinct is built in them somewhere. So go back to when you're skeet shooting, and you guys obviously got interested into the dogs. It sounds like you got intrigued by the dogs before you got that bug in your head to go try hunting. Did you getting the dogs kind of encourage you to take that next leap into the hunting space?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't have done it without the experience with the dogs.
What was it about the
just
dogs?
Being out there with them and having that interaction.
Yeah, what was it specifically about the dogs that really intrigued you, that said, okay, I really want to kind of cultivate this and kind of see them do what they were initially bred to do?
I think that's just it. The natural instinct and ability to be able to do what they do just is so cool to see that. I don't know how to say it's just really cool to watch them do what they do
Yeah.
and be a part of that with them.
Right. So, kind of walk me through your headspace when, you have your experience skeet shooting, but to your point a minute ago, you were a mom, you were in charge of the family, you were raising them, kind of getting comfortable enough to take a next step into a brand new venture because of your appreciation for dogs. Kind of walk me through your headspace as you're kind of working this out, trying to decide if you actually want to go try that out.
So, like I said, I've been around hunting my whole life. Um, and uh, so it wasn't totally new to me. And just something for, my husband and I to be able to do together outdoors with the dogs, just all of it together. It's just a perfect combination of the things that I enjoy doing.
Hmm.
Um, and it's something new. I'm always up for trying something new. I I think sometimes we get really comfortable in our little space, and some people don't like trying things new, but I'm very I guess adventurous, and I like that opportunity. And you don't know until you try it, right? You don't know until you do it. I mean, I didn't know if I said, well, I'll do this, and if I don't like it, if I don't enjoy it, then okay, great, but I at least want to give it a chance. And I fell in love with it.
Hmm.
I really, really enjoy it. And like we said earlier, it's the journey for me. It's all of it. It's being outdoors. I mean, you see just some of the most beautiful landscapes, and just the experience of being outdoors. I think I sent you some pictures of we're out there hunting, and the sunrises in Kansas are just amazing. And just to be able to see that, and meeting new people, going to new places, that's what I enjoy. I love experiencing new things. And the people in Kansas are just the nicest people. Everybody was so welcoming, and just very, I just can't say enough nice things about them.
Yeah.
They were awesome.
Yeah. Well, talk to me about the actual steps you went through. You decide, okay, you have the interest, you want to give it a shot, you want to test it out. You have your husband, you have your sons that you can kind of bounce ideas off of. I want to hear about the
Mhm.
actual next steps in how you went forward, because let's face it, not all spouses can get along and help each other out, right? I think I think one of the best tips I got from some buddies when I got into it, and the few times my wife kind of gets out there and tests it out, is if your spouse is going to get involved in whether it's shooting or hunting, find somebody else to coach them, because it's not going to end well in the field. So, talk to me about your experience actually going forward in this journey.
So that's absolutely true. Everything you said. But I will have to say, my husband was very patient and helping me, learn all the, there's when you've never done it before. I mean, he's been doing it his whole life, and I'm 61 and a grandmother, and I'm just learning this, right? So it's very different. Um, and so he was very helpful in coaching me through, okay, this is gun safety, this is how you go about, this is what happens, this is, the birds are going to do this, and this is how you should react, and this is how you should so he did a lot of that, preparing me for that. um and over time, you do get to a point where he's taught me what he can teach me, right? And so hunting is a little bit different. Like when we started fishing, right? I mean, I had fished ever since I was a little girl, so I knew something about it. But he would teach me a lot. We did a lot of trout fishing. I'm kind of getting off subject here, but but then in fishing, he can show me, teach me, tell me whatever, but then we can go our separate ways. And we do. He goes one way on the stream, I go another way on the stream, and I take all that, and then I have to teach myself, right? I got to do it. I got to actually have my hands on and figure out, okay, well, that didn't work, and this, and do this and do, so you kind of take that information, but then you've got to actually do it and put it together and kind of be in your own head and figure that out. Well, in hunting, you can't really do that, or at least I can't. I'm not gonna, maybe one day, but not yet. I'm not ready to just go off by myself with a dog and go hunting. Not that you can't do that, and there are lots of people that do that, lots of women that do that. And maybe I will get there, but I'm not quite ready to do that yet. And I'm because it is new to me, I am so safety conscious, right? I'm just like, probably because it's not second nature to me. I'm always thinking about, okay, where's my gun pointing? Where am I walking? How am I, what am I doing? Where's everybody at? So I'm very intentional about that. So I'm not ready to go off on my own. But yeah, so we have had some words, should I say, some experiences where he's gotten a little frustrated with me and I've gotten a little frustrated with him. And so that, yeah, but we try not to let it ruin the experience for us. But now I will, to say that I was I don't want to say frustrated, but I don't shoot well. And I want to shoot better, right? I want to be able to do better. So on the way back from Kansas, I mean, we're in the car driving back and I'm already hitting up somebody for shooting lessons when we get back. So I've already had one lesson. I've got another lesson tomorrow. Like I said earlier, we belong to a gun club. And so I've already told my husband, I said, we're going to be going regularly, because that's the only way you can get better, is just to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're only shooting once every 3 months, you're not going to get any better. And again, being older, it's you gotta put the practice in, you gotta burn the powder. And so I'm excited about that, right? I mean, I'll go and sometimes I'll do better than others, and I'm okay with that. It's not like I get, oh, I can't do this, I'm not going to do this anymore. It's the process. It's learning, meeting new people, and it's the whole thing, the whole experience. But so yeah, so he's helped me as well, introducing me to some people that can help me outside of him helping me. And so I think we both agree it's probably time for that.
Right.
I don't want to piss her off when she's got a gun in her hand.
Yeah.
Smart man.
That's not the time to have her mad at you.
Yeah, we don't need any field therapy sessions while everybody's got loaded shotguns in hand. You referenced earlier you guys went to a local preserve and you went out there just to get comfortable. You didn't even carry a shotgun, or at least it wasn't loaded. Kind of walk me through your thought process and how you became comfortable doing it yourself, because I know that that's a big hurdle for a lot of people that are unfamiliar. As you said, there's a lot. For those of us that have been doing it for so long, we can kind of forget just how I don't know, like there's a lot to pay attention to, and if you're brand new to it, everything seems very important. You don't want to screw up the dog, you don't want to screw up the hunt, you don't want to be unsafe, but you also want to enjoy your time. Like there's so many factors and stuff going on. If you're not used to it, it's just going at a high speed. So walk me through stuff like you did on going out without a shotgun. Walk me through how you became acclimated and comfortable in that environment with everything going on around you, to where you were confident that you were being safe and you were able to have fun with it.
Yeah. So like you said, so I had some experience with the shotgun through the skeet shooting, right? So I had gotten some familiarity with the gun. And then we went to the preserve. And the first time that we went, I didn't carry a gun at all. I just walked with my husband through the field and we did the hunt. And because I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know what it was going to be like, or, I just didn't know anything about it. So I wanted to be familiar with the environment, what the dog's going to do, how is that going to go down, what my husband's going to do, and just the whole experience. So I went and did not even carry a gun. And for people that are not used to hunting at all, or you got such things like just walking through a field, right? I mean, you got to pay attention to the ground and not step in a hole, and there's things like that, just the whole experience that you've got to get used to and become familiar with. So I would highly recommend, if anybody's new to it, go without even carrying a gun the first time and just experience what it's like. And that was really helpful to me. And it just kind of eased me into it. And then after I did that a couple of times, and then I carried a gun and it wasn't even loaded, right? I wanted to, okay, this is how you walk through the field. This is how you carry your gun, to be safe, and just getting used to that feel. And I just kind of gradually worked into it. And then I started carrying a gun and it was loaded. And, we were being on a preserve, you can, the dog can point, and it's usually very predictable. So that helped. But yeah, so I just kind of gradually built up to doing it. And just like anything else, there are so many different variables, right? And when we talk about the Kansas trip, we can talk a little bit about that, but which way the bird's going to go, what kind of bird is it? Is it going to come straight at you? Is it going to go like, over, right? Is the dog going to jump up, right? Close to the bird. It's, so every situation is, it can be a little different. So, and you just kind of get used to those variables the more you do it.
I think the first time you started shooting, your decision to shoot was the dog's reward for doing all that he had done or she had done. And you wanted to be part of, it's like giving her a biscuit when she sits. You wanted to be able to try to give her that bird as well when she pointed and
right,
did everything correctly in the field.
Right.
I think that was a lot of what you've said in the past too. That
right.
You had that desire to please her, the dog, as much as she was pleasing you.
Yeah, exactly. You feel kind of bad when you miss a shot or whatever, and the dog's looking at you like, all right.
Right. Right. So your desire to just really kind of make it an experience, not just for yourself, but for your dog as well, kind of brought your comfort level out to where, again, it kind of goes back to your nurturing spirit. It's just like, okay, like your dog's working really hard. I really want to make this impactful for her and communicate to her that she's doing good. And so it sounds
absolutely.
It sounds like you really approach this in a very methodical, very, very gathered process, kind of like what we talk about when we're even kind of exposing kids or dogs to the equation, is just step by step. Like there's no rush to go full bore. You don't have to, if you decide that you want to try hunting, you don't have to go by yourself out, out on the prairies in Kansas and just kind of make it up as you go along. Is kind of go at your own pace and your own comfort level, and however it makes sense to you. Don't just go at your own pace, essentially. But so, you finally get used to it. You get used to the situation. You're comfortable in the scenario and everything that's playing around you. Now, here comes in Kansas. You guys, as not only just you're wanting to go hunt with your dogs, but typical of a grandmother and a mother, you're going to make this a family outing. So I'm assuming, did you get the
Yeah.
bug and suggested, let's go on a road trip, let's try this out? Or did this come from outside, someone else in the family? Kind of walk me through how this idea even came to light.
So I think probably my oldest son was probably the biggest instigator. We have a friend who goes out west and has done this for quite a few years. So we were kind of familiar with, that experience because he's always come back and told us stories and everything. And also, just to back up again a little bit, listening to your podcast. When we got the German short hair and I decided, okay, I might want to do this, I started listening to every podcast and watching every YouTube video I could find so I could become familiar with the experience, right? And it was a great help. I would highly recommend that to anybody that's getting into this. There's so much information out there, and the more information you have, the better prepared you are for the experience. So that coupled with my son, he had the wire-haired griffin. He's like, hey, when are we going hunting? When are we going hunting? So I knew someone who was from out in Kansas. And so I talked to them and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Can you put us in touch with some of your friends or family that out there? And he was, again, being from Kansas, these people are awesome. He did. He connected us with some people. So we started that process, and we're like, okay, we're doing this. We're really going to do this. And we planned it for a long time, probably, I say a long time, 6 months or so.
Okay.
We started looking at the area. My son got on Onyx, which was a huge help before, during, and after the trip. I cannot imagine doing this without that technology. But unfortunately, our son was with us, so he could do it.
At least show you the ropes, say like,
So-
hey, it's not that complicated.
Yeah.
Just look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's right. So, yes. And then, so we just started, we got we picked out a route. We, made our hotel reservation because it's a 20-hour trip for us from Virginia to Kansas. So, we had to do all the planning. Okay, what are we going to do with the dogs, and what do we need, and all this. And our friend who has done this for quite a few years was a huge resource. He gave us all kinds of pointers on things that we need to do and be prepared for. And so we went out. It took us 2 days to drive out there. We got there, we went, and we had some idea of the area. We hunted all private property. Although my son did become very familiar with some of the weehaws out there in case we wanted to take advantage of that. And we just went out and we scouted the different areas that we knew we had access to, and made our plan for the next day. And I tell you what, that first morning, when we were out there, we were there, of course, being all excited. We were there well before sunrise. And as the sun is coming up, you can hear the quail. And to be in Kansas on a cold morning, the sun's coming up, and to hear those birds, it's just, it really is magical. It was awesome just to be able to hear that. And so
Well, months leading up to, I'll back up a little bit. Months leading up to, during the planning of this trip, we had contacted the family members of this friend, and we had approximately 3,000 acres of family land to hunt. But out of that 3,000 acres, how much of it's ag land? How much of it has beans or Sudan grass or corn or wheat or whatever on it? Well, it's drastically reduced. And then you're hunting the edges of that anyway. So you really, I knew going out there, we did not have all that much land to really hunt, not for an entire 7 days of hunting. We didn't have enough area to hunt. So we were drastically looking at nearby what we call weehaws, the walk-in hunting areas. We were looking at those that were nearby and things of that nature. Once we got there, within 2 days of being there, we talked to people and met people, and we probably had in the neighborhood of 60,000 acres to hunt. I stood on top of a hillside. We met a gentleman. He was cutting corn. We asked him if we could hunt. We were hunting across the road from his property. He pointed at a building that was shining in the sun. It was a silver, like silo off in the distance. And everything's on the grid system out there, a square 1 mile grid. He said, that silo's 5 miles away. I live 2 miles west of that. That's 7 miles. He said, you can hunt from here to there and you won't walk off my land. And I'm like, oh my Lord. And so, and these guys didn't know us from Adam, but she was in the truck when my son and I were talking to this gentleman. He goes, I thought there were 4 of you. And I said, well, my youngest son, my wife's in the truck. He said, well, I'd like to meet them too. Well, then he gets mad. He acts like he's mad at me. He goes, wait a minute. He said, you can't hunt. And he's pointing at me. And I go, excuse me? He said, you've told me a lie. He said, you were here with your wife. That's your daughter. He
is smooth.
He's smooth.
Very, very, but they're so nice, just the nicest people. That's a big part of the experience as well, is just, I'd never been to Kansas before, and it's such an awesome, everything out there is huge.
Yeah.
It's like everything is big out there, and the people were just were so nice. But anyhow, so we've kind of gotten off track a little bit, but
well, tell me about your initial reaction of coming from Virginia. This is something that we probably had a similar reaction. So I'm curious, is, a lot of times when we leave the East or the Southeast, and we're so used to mountains and trees and rivers, you go out West and it is just completely wide open.
It's totally different.
Talk to me about your first impression of just there's no trees. Like it's just a never ending landscape.
It's amazing. Like I said, just being able to experience that space. And some people had said, oh, there's nothing out there. And as if like, oh, you're not going to enjoy that. You're just going to be driving forever and there's nothing to see. I was amazed. I loved every bit of it. Just, it's so huge and just goes forever. And I forget exactly where we were, but it's like you're driving down the road and then all of a sudden the world just opens up. It's just, and my son called me because he and my 2 sons were in their truck and we were in our truck, and my son calls me and he said, Mom, we're not in Virginia anymore. I was like, oh man, this is just, it was just beautiful. It was just beautiful. I loved every bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very different. The one thing that I did not expect was the dust.
Oh yeah.
Oh my word. The
everywhere.
Dust is, I did. Yeah. I was not expecting that. So, but yeah, it's just such a beautiful area.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed every bit of it. Very different from Virginia.
Right. So you guys kind of went out there, you guys kind of had an idea or a feel of where you guys were going to go, and then, kind of ran into a local, and it really opened up y'all's hunting access and what you guys could go explore. Walk me through the actual hunting, because again, this is your first big trip. And so talk to me about how the dogs performed. Did it meet your expectations, your anticipations? What were your guys' goals going into it? Kind of talk me into what you were hoping for, and did it live up to those hopes?
So my goal for the trip, now granted, remember, I know that I'm not a very good shot, and I've only been doing this for a couple of years, which is a very short time. My goal was to kill 1 wild Kansas quail for the week. That was my goal. And I did that.
Nice.
And I was so happy. I was just, and that people are probably going to think that's really lame, but that's just huge. That was just huge for me. So we went, we had the 3 dogs. The puppy, had very limited experience. He just kind of bounced around all over the place, following after the other dogs. Belle, the oldest one of the bunch, she did really well. We were able to find birds every day. And, she didn't point all of those birds, right? I mean, this was new to her too. She had never experienced anything like this. So, but she did point some coveys for us. And, so the specific experience that stands out in my memory with Belle is we were hunting some standing soybean. It was a frosty morning. There's frost all over everything. It's really early, and we're walking through this field, and she goes on point. And I mean, she is on a hard point, and we're like, okay, here we go. And I was like torn between, okay, do I want to take a picture or do I want to shoot? So I opted for shooting. I should have opted for taking the picture, but that's okay. That's a different story. But she's on point. And then we see this one bird hop up and fly over about 5 feet and go back down. And she just kind of lifts her head and looks, and then goes immediately back down on point where she originally was. She did not move her body at all. And we're like, okay, there's a covey of birds there. And we got up to her, we flushed the covey, and that was so cool, and they flew off, and of course I didn't get any, but that's okay too. It was a great experience. It was awesome. I will always remember that. So the dogs did well. They didn't do great, right? They're not,
it's their first trip out, like you said. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And it was our first experience. But they did good enough. They did good enough. My oldest son's Griffin, he did great. He pointed on several coveys and several singles, and my son was able to, get some of those birds that he pointed, and he was very, very happy with that. It was a really cool experience. So Bob, the puppy, like I said, he was just kind of bouncing all over the place, but the 2, the Griffin and then our older, short hair did good considering, our experience and their experience with the environment. It was, the plum thickets, experiencing those was very new to us.
I hate plum thickets.
Yeah, I don't like plum thickets. We saw some pheasant. Pheasant are mean. I don't like them. They, you can shoot at them, and they just keep on flying away. Yeah. And but it was cool. It was really, really cool to see them. And we saw prairie chickens. I think I told you that earlier. We saw some prairie chickens, and we really didn't know what they were at first, right? So my sons had seen this group of birds land in the field, and we walked up there, and we were thinking that maybe they were ducks. But then we got up to them, not within shooting range, but they got up in front of us, and then we realized they were prairie chickens.
Yeah.
So that was really cool to see that, because you don't see, from what I understand, you don't see a lot of them there. So it was cool to be able to see that.
Yeah.
But
tell me about your guys' initial reactions to, you live in Virginia. You already referenced earlier, there's not a great wild bird opportunity in Virginia. They're there, right. You can get on them if you really want to. But going out west, your first time into bird country, we got your reaction to the landscape. Contrast the experience of seeing these wild birds in their natural wild habitat, how they're covied up, how they're flushing angry. Talk to me about that and compare it to your experience, on planted birds and preserved birds, because, we try and simulate the real hunt the best we can, but there are just certain elements we just can't reproduce. So I want to hear your reaction of seeing those birds.
A preserve doesn't replicate her scream when a covey gets up. That's why she can't hit none.
Because I'm screaming. Yeah, yeah. So very, very different. Very different. For one, a preserve hunt that I've experienced so far are singles, right?
Or two or three.
Yeah, or a couple. Out there, you've got true coveys of birds getting up. And if the dog hasn't pointed them and they're just getting up unexpectedly, yeah, I do squeal a little bit. But so it was really interesting to me throughout the week. I don't know if the guys felt this, they probably were familiar with this, but it was really interesting to me to experience and learn the birds' habits, right? Their the way that they covey up, and then during certain times of the day they're out in the fields eating. So you know, you might hunt some brush or thicket or whatever at one time of day, but during the other time of day they're out in the fields. So you have to hunt them differently during different times of the day. So it was really interesting to me, just to learn that about, you know, how they operate. But yeah, it's totally different than a preserve. Totally different. One, there's so many of them, and they're a lot of times they get up way before you get to them, and sometimes they'll, you know, be singles here or there, and it's just very different from a preserve hunt. And they're so fast.
Right.
Oh my gosh. They're so fast.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I tell everybody is, you know, you can simulate it all you want with preserved birds or planted birds, but the wild birds, you know, regardless of the numbers, as you talked about in the coveys and groups, but just how they flush, you know, once you see
Yeah.
true wild birds flush, the intensity of which I mean, they're getting out of Dodge. You know, these birds know, if I don't get out of here, you know, I'm lunch meat for whatever predators after me. And so they're getting
Yeah.
out of there, and they're going a long ways too. That's
Yeah.
another thing that surprises a lot of people is they're used to, oh yeah, they'll see a bird get up in a planted field and it'll light back down, you know, 20, 40 yards up
Right.
ahead. These wild birds, you might get one on occasion that does something like that to where it goes down to where you can immediately beeline it. But especially if you hunt any pressured birds at all, or it's late season, or older birds that really have been around the block, they're cresting that hill. They're gone.
They are. Yeah, you ain't kidding. It just amazed me how fast they were the first time.
This was opening day. I mean, opening week of this Kansas season. So there wasn't any hunting pressure on these birds. But the thing that I've never even noticed, I've been hunting quail in Virginia since the 70s. And I've never seen it happen here the way it did out there. And that was, regardless of how far the birds flew, when they hit the ground, they would run forever. You would go to where, here in Virginia, you get a covey up and you might hunt a single or two, and sometimes a covey halfway stays together, depending on the situation. Out there, it didn't matter whether they spread out when they got up or stayed as a covey. You went to where you saw them land, and they were nowhere to be found. They would run forever. And I'd never experienced that.
Mm-hmm.
And we struggled to find singles because of that. They would run so far. I'm like, well, they got to be right here. And 30 minutes later, we've hunted 2 ridges over, and there's the single. You know, they're 500 yards away. And I'm like, how in the world?
Yeah, they're fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one thing that definitely was different, is how fast they are.
I want to hear the story and your reaction. I mean, he already talked about you screaming on the coveys, just excited. I want to hear your excitement and your emotions going through your head when you're holding that first bird. Mission accomplished. You go out there. Your only goal was to get one wild Kansas quail. I want to hear, once that bird is in your hands, what's going through your mind right now, the emotions, if you can put them into words.
we're hunting together, right? And Mike had gone back to the truck, so it was just my sons and I, and we were hunting this area, and the griffin got birdie. You could tell he was smelling some birds, and the birds got up, and I shot that bird, and I screamed. I was so excited. And my son was like, "You did it, Mom," and it was so cool to be able to experience that with my kids, right? And then Bob, believe it or not, Bob, the puppy, retrieved it. He went and found it and brought it back to me. So that was really, really cool. And yeah, it was not gonna lie, it was a little emotional because it just, that it's hard to do, and to go to all this effort and actually be able to say that I killed a wild Kansas quail. I mean, a lot of people probably think that's pretty lame, but it was amazing for me. And it was so funny because, so we were kind of towards the end of that hunt, right? So I had my bird, and I walked back to the truck where he was, and he's smiling, and he said, "I knew you either killed a bird or you shot somebody." So I wasn't real sure.
I was a half a mile away from her and could hear her hollering. And I could tell it was a happy holler.
That's awesome. I love it.
It was an experience that I'll never forget. It really was awesome.
Did you guys go back to camp, cook it up? Is it at the taxidermist now? What do we do with it?
No, we cleaned it, and we haven't cooked it yet. It's in our freezer. We brought all of our birds home. So it was but that memory, but I think I sent you a picture of it. But yeah, it was an awesome experience.
Right.
So I'm hoping for a little bit more success next year.
Well, and I mean, that's why we do this. Is you go out, you just get a little bit of a taste of it. You learn what you don't know, right? And then you build off of that. So next year the trip, hopefully, knock on wood, goes a little smoother, or more and more and more, and that's you just keep stacking the wins, and just keep building it. As we start kind of winding this down and wrapping it up, I got a few questions. Obviously, there's certain things with you being a woman, I'm a man, there's certain things that I don't know firsthand, right? But I hear from a lot of female listeners of getting involved, or maybe they're wanting to try it out, trying to figure out the best equipment, just any tips that you can kind of give the female listeners as far as gear or expectations. You talked about kind of getting comfortable entering the world, but on this actual road trip and hunting adventure with your family, what's some of the takeaways that you learned that you found really worked well for you, or maybe it didn't work well for you?
First and foremost is you need to make sure you have a comfortable pair of boots, because you walk a lot, and you don't want something that's heavy. I mean, boots in general are going to be a little bit clunky, right? Just by the nature of what they are, but you can get some. I think I have some Keens, and I walked in those things all day long, and my feet never hurt. They were awesome. So whatever, make sure you get a good, comfortable pair of boots. You definitely want to have boots. Don't go out there in tennis shoes or something like that. As far as gear goes, that was really important. And you want to be able to dress in layers, because you start out in the morning and it's pretty cold, and then at least for the time that we were there, it heated up and you got hot. So you need to be able to take off the layers. So that was important. One thing that I experienced was when you're mounting your gun to shoot, it's really easy for your gun to get caught on your clothes. So I would really suggest trying to get clothing that's not too loose. One of the pieces that I had was probably a little loose. I'll probably do something a little bit different next time. So that's helpful to have clothing that's more fitted, so your gun doesn't catch on it. So sunglasses, don't wear your sunglasses on your croquis hanging down here, because you can guarantee you're going to catch them on your gun going up. So I learned that lesson once, and they were
That's
on top of my hat the rest
a
of the
good tip.
time.
Yeah.
And those are just things that, when you do this a lot, you'll learn, but if you've never done it before, you don't realize that that's going to happen.
Exactly. What about your vest and brush pants? What did you go with a specific brand, or were you just kind of out there experimenting with the first one that you grabbed?
So, it's so difficult. I know that there are clothing and there's gear out there for women now where there didn't used to be anything, but it's all so expensive. So I would love to see one of these manufacturers come up with a line of upland clothing for women that's a little bit more affordable. You can get some stuff, but it's super expensive. So I think I got a pair of Browning brush pants. Highly recommend brush pants. Definitely need a pair of brush pants, because in the mornings you're walking through and everything's wet. If you wear a regular pair of pants, you're going to be soaking wet and be miserable. So you definitely need a pair of brush pants. I've got, I think the shirt I've got on now is the Ugly Dog hunting shirt. So I really like that. It definitely want your clothes to be comfortable. My vest, can't remember what kind of what the brand is of the vest, but it's a strap vest. But I can't remember the brand of it.
It's a suspender vest. And I got that because the over the shoulder, the regular vest type that she had, her gun it was messing up her mounting her gun all the time.
Yeah.
So I got just a shouldered, belt type vest for her, and it made a difference. She didn't have so much bulk there that it messed her up, and it did well. It did a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, the traditional gear of the shirts and the brush pants and the boots and the vest, and you just got to try different ones. If you can go to a storefront and actually try on some stuff, that's always helpful, because sometimes you think you would like something, but then if you order it offline and get it, it's not great, and you have to do that sometimes. But it's challenging, and there may be some women that hear this that might be able to offer some suggestions. But I've looked at a lot of stuff, and it's hard to find women's hunting gear, upland hunting gear, in general, and then to be able to find something that's affordable is a little bit more challenging as well. So hopefully maybe that'll improve in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So what about lessons learned? You guys 20-hour road trip, that throws a lot of people for a loop. They don't really consider the travel time when they start planning these trips. It's one thing to, dream of Kansas or the Dakotas or Montana. And then then it comes to actually traveling there. And some people do a lot better on road trips. I'm used to it. I mean, it doesn't faze me at all to drive 30 plus hours. I've done it, 20-hour trips enough to do it. But when you're first doing that, tell me about some lessons learned, maybe some tips, tricks that you and your family kind of implemented to travel, not just with yourselves, but with the dogs and the gear and everything.
Yeah. So we, our dogs did amazing. We really did not know what to expect with that. They did really, really well. None of them got sick. They didn't whimper and cry and bark and all of that stuff. While they just settled it. We had their crates in the back. Now we do have a camper shell on the back of our truck, so they weren't exposed to the weather. And we did have some good foam mats in their kennels to make it a little bit more comfortable for them. We had the stakeouts where we would stop probably every 4 hours or so.
3 to 4 hours when we got gas.
Yeah, when we would stop for gas, we would find a place to stop to where we could put them out and give them 15, 20 minutes just to be able to be able to go to the bathroom and just stretch their legs a little bit and maybe give them some water. One thing you want to make sure is that you have a container with water to be able to give, and have bowls to be able to give them water when you stop. You need to make sure you have it, because you don't always know, unless you want to buy bottled water at a convenience store and give them that. You don't necessarily know what the water's going to be like to get it from a bathroom faucet or something like that. So, and your dogs can get sick from some of that stuff, believe it or not. So we carried a big, like one of those igloo, round orange igloo athletic cooler, with water in it, and that it's easy, you know, it's got a little spigot on it, and it was really easy to get water for them. And we had that with us on the trip. And then through the week while we're hunting, it made it real easy to be able to take care of them. So yeah, the stakeouts, a comfortable crate for them, and make sure that you have water. Those are the best tips for for now. We did the hotels that we stayed at on the way out and on the way back, we made sure that we got pet friendly hotels. And you want to have collapsible crates to be able to carry in to the hotel room, or at least we did. I didn't want the dogs running loose in the room, and to be able to set that up, and for them to be in a comfortable, safe space in the hotel room. So that's something that you want to think of if you don't want your dog sleeping in bed with you.
Yeah, good tips. It's what's next? This will be kind of my last question for you and grilling you is what's next. Is you went to Kansas, you've really got to dip your toes into it, get the experience, you accomplish your goal. I mean, you've been smiling at, this entire episode, pretty much just reliving it and recapping it.
Yeah.
And I want to hear, are you guys already talking about next year? Are you guys talking about a new location, going back to the same? What's next? And is this a kind of an annual family thing for you guys?
We hope so. We are already planning our trip next year, already booking the house. The house that we stayed in this year was great. We plan to stay in the same one next year. So we already have identified, when we want to go. And now I've just got to have more shooting lessons between now and then.
Well, that's great. I'm glad that you guys had such a great trip and had enough opportunities to at least motivate you to take those shooting lessons, right? It's I tell everybody it can be frustrating to miss all the time, but that means you're at least shooting in the first place.
That you're exactly right. And like I said, it's the journey.
Yeah.
It's the whole process of learning something new, meeting new people, growing. It's the whole process, the whole journey is what it's about, at least for me anyway.
Absolutely. Well, Faith, I really enjoyed hearing a little bit more about this. It's when you sent me the email, there's a few emails that I get on occasion from listeners that just bring a smile to my face. And you contributed a lot of what I've done on this podcast to at least motivating you, or at least making you feel comfortable and trying it. And I appreciate that kind words. And I'm glad that it did encourage you in that way. But, it did bring a smile to my face. I screenshotted it and sent it to my own sisters and mother, and like, here, if y'all want to try it, just let me know. But it's been fun kind of hearing you relive the account and the trip. It's just I love when people have success in trying new things and trying out what I love to do.
Well, I sent you that message, and I just and I truly meant it. Your podcast was very encouraging, very informative, educational, and I just wanted to, you're very, welcoming, and through your podcast, relatable, and so I just wanted you to know, you had a positive impact on me and my experience, and we had such a great experience, and I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Nick, you asked what we did for 20 hours, 22 hours driving out there and driving back. You want to guess?
I'm assuming that you guys listen to a certain podcast by the context of this.
Yep. Yes.
We listened to about every podcast that's ever been made about upland bird hunting.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Well, I guess I lied. I have one more question. What's an episode that stands out in your mind that really helped you, or that you just really appreciated?
There's so many of them. It's hard for me I don't know that I have any that were specific like to this trip, but the ones where you talk with the trainers, like Rick Smith, Mo Lindley, The one that you did, what was it? I don't remember the lady's name, but it was about like the obstacle course or something,
Oh,
some sort
Jen
of,
Jen Broom with the
yes.
confidence course, whatever you want to
Yep.
call it, obstacle course,
Y-
essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are, those stand out in my memory as being, I really enjoyed listening to them. Um, and again, they just add value to my experience with our dogs, and the hunting that comes from that. So it's the whole package.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it. I'm glad. I'm thankful for the reach out, and I was glad to explore your guys' experience, and I look forward to hearing from you in the future and what your future trips lead to you.
Yeah, I'll keep you posted.
Will do. Appreciate it. So, y'all have
All
a
right,
great day,
take
and we'll
care.
chat soon.
All right, thanks. You too. Bye.
All right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that conversation with Faith Nixon and her husband, Mike. This was presented by Standing Stone Supply, Onyx Hunt, Final Rise, and Upland Gun Company. I really enjoyed this conversation. Obviously, she reached out as we discussed in the podcast and kind of just gave me a recap of their the success of their trip and just how much it meant to her and contributed a lot of that success to the podcast. And so I jumped at the chance to kind of get her story and hear a little bit more about it. It's not every day that you hear from a grandmother that just got into upland hunting, and the fact that she speaks at it from a standpoint of just enjoying the process and the challenge of new beginnings really kind of resonated with me. And so I really appreciated and respected that outlook. And another thing, I love talking to people that are brand new into this. And I know a lot of people, if you've been doing the dogs or upland hunting or both for a while, a lot of people, they can become frustrated or impatient with speaking with new people in the space. But I honestly find that speaking to the new people helps keep me grounded, helps keep me remembering just kind of, for lack of a better term, the magic of it. Put yourself back in those shoes of when Faith was talking about holding that hand or holding that first quail in her hand and just the emotions that it evoked and her screaming and excited and more or less, like, you can do this for years on end, and we all appreciate it for different reasons, and those reasons are always kind of evolving, but nothing really replaces or supplants the first of anything, the first covey rise, the first bird, the first dog on point. And just hearing their appreciation for those first. I mean, just, you heard in this episode her appreciation for her first trip out west into Kansas and seeing the landscape and how just a stark difference it is from her normal home and environment in Virginia to Kansas, and then just the process of traveling, and then of course the birds themselves. It even goes beyond just having the infectious energy and the memories and just that contagious excitement. It's also the fact that when you talk to the new hunters, hopefully they're realistic on their capabilities as much as Faith was about hers. You heard her speak about her shooting ability, the shooting safety, but also her willingness to not only learn from her husband Mike, but other people that were trying to help her from her sons, and then trying to research and learn and study things on her own through podcasts or YouTube videos. All that stuff is what I refer to as like keeping the soul. And it's very easy to get lost in what each one of us does especially if we've been doing it for a long while, is we have to remember to stay grounded and what we enjoy about this, whether that is the dogs, the birds, the combination of both, whatever. It's just always a good reminder when I speak to somebody brand new into this. And I thought that this episode was really fitting. I know New Year's was last week, but I thought this episode was really a good one to really kind of look at things in a new light for this new year and just like Faith, she wasn't intimidated or scared to try something new and step out of her comfort zone and get out there and go do it with her family. This year, 2024, you hear it every year, if you have to think about it, just go do it. Go take that trip, go learn this, go do that. If you want to go do it, whatever. If it's a new hobby, a specific trip that's been on the bucket list for a while, go do it. If it's a new species, just new experience, whatever, go do it. And that's something I've been trying to live by for the past couple years, and I've more or less kind of accomplished it. Obviously there's certain realistic constraints in life, whether that's work or money or whatever. But if you really want to try and do something like this, you can do it. I mean, you can figure out a budget-friendly option and just go make it happen. And that's, I'm not the biggest New Year's resolution kind of guy. I'm a very goal-oriented individual anyway. But there is something to be said about a new year and just kind of a new slate, to where, even breaking it down by hunting season, it's just like, okay, well, here comes a new season, or this season passed, what do we work on to improve on the next one? And, in that vein, in that spirit, with New Year's, I thought it might be fun to just kind of share a few apps or platforms that I use to kind of help keep myself structured and to varying different degrees. So, if you're heading into the new year, and let's say, let's take some of the more common resolution or goals, fitness. If you have a fitness goal for the year of 24, which I highly encourage, and fitness, that's arguably one of the most important things you can do for yourself. The Garmin Connect app is something that in 2023 I really explored and got used to using that on a daily basis. I think a lot of people that use it just think that it's only good for tracking dogs or telling the time or whatever. And of course it does those things, and I use it for my own hunting as well. But if you really kind of explore it, there's a lot of capabilities on that Garmin Connect app. I mean, everything from planning and setting up your own training regimen and your routine, to even mapping out your own route. So you can actually go on your desktop or laptop and plan your route out. This isn't just for jogging or cycling. You can actually do this for hunting or dog training. You can actually plan individual routes, and then the watch will actually notify you when to take a left or take a right or get back on the route or something like that. So if you're heading out west and you're maybe unfamiliar with the area or whatever, you can set up pre-designated routes, if you will, if you're inclined to do so, and you can share that with your spouse or whatever. So if you're uncomfortable going out there by yourself, maybe that kind of gives you some kind of security. But there's a lot of elements within the Garmin Connect that just the tracking and analytics I really appreciate and enjoy. So if you're into fitness, maybe check out one of the Garmin watches. And of course, I'm not affiliated with Garmin, so I'm not getting any kickback for this or whatever. This is just something I use on a day-to-day basis that I really enjoy. Another app that I use is, 2023, I found that I was really, like so many other people, spending entirely way too much time on my phone, and specifically on social media. And Instagram was kind of my drug, if you will. And so I was really kind of looking for an app, and of course you can do the little timeout thing on your Apple iPhone, and it's built in, but it was very easy to surpass. It was just, your time limit comes up and it asks if you want to ignore it. And if it's just one click away like it is on the Apple software, it doesn't do a whole lot of good. So I wanted something that I could set up the schedule beforehand while I'm not wanting to search or surf Instagram, if you will, and there's no way around it. And I found that the app is called ClearSpace, and once I put that on my phone and linked up Instagram, I think you get one app for free on that. I think you can add Facebook or whatever other apps on your phone if you're spending too much time on it, and of course you got to pay up for it. But that app I found really useful for really curbing the amount of time I spent on my phone, and it was an immediate result. So it wasn't one of those things you have to put in and then wait to see results. It immediately changed it for myself. So if you're trying to spend a little less time on the screen this year, maybe try ClearSpace. And I believe it even works for websites, so you can't even like circumvent it by going on your regular computer if that's an option for you. Another one, this is kind of a little bit newer for me, but something that's really helped so far in the past couple weeks that I've been implementing it. It's for those people that are trying to become more proficient in scheduling and kind of collaborating and using calendars, whether that's with your family or work or what have you. Calendly is an app that I've found really helpful in scheduling even these podcast episodes. This is something newer that I'm using, but it's really easy. I can just kind of link my calendar to it, and then if somebody's asking for a phone call, a Patreon patron possibly asking for some help on something, I can just send them the calendar, and then they can, mark out 15 minutes for a phone call on that, and it automatically shoots the link. So again, this isn't a productivity or optimization podcast or what have you, but I thought in the spirit of New Year's and people, tend to be a little bit more goal oriented this early on, figured I'd share, my top 3 apps or products that I use. And again, no affiliation. I'm not getting a kickback. I don't have a referral link for any of these things or not, but especially the Garmin one, a lot of us are using the Garmin watches, and it just, the capability that thing has, I really enjoy the Garmin Connect app. So take that for whatever it's worth. Again, hope you enjoyed this conversation with Faith, and we'll be back here soon with another episode. Thanks as always for joining us and hitting download and play. Wish everybody the best of 2024. If you haven't already, start figuring out those big dream trips in the fall. It seems like it's forever away, but as we all know, it goes in a blink of an eye and it'll be here before you know it. So if your hunting season's already wrapped up, don't worry. Just go to sleep tonight and it'll feel like you're waking up tomorrow and it's hunting season again, and you'll be asking where all your prep time went. So again, hope everybody had a great holiday season and safe. We'll talk soon, and thanks.